Hey everybody, I'm Kirsi. I'm the founder of Nakedwear, and I'm here today with Linda Bloomfield, a ceramicist who made our Potter's Wheel London edition. And today we are going to talk about important topics for Nakedwear, which is our collaborative design process, and as well our concept of same but different, as all Nakedwear products try to be different from each other. That's our goal. And then we're going to talk about sustainability, and we're going to talk about crafts as well a little bit. So maybe Linda, you can introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, so hello, I'm Linda Bloomfield. I'm a potter. I have a studio at home in West London, and I usually make tableware and commissions. And I met Kirsi at London Design Fair. So she saw what kind of work I made, but then she had an idea that I could also make some designs for her.
So maybe now we can a little bit go to the topic that is quite important for Nakedwear, which is the collaboration between the designer and the ceramicist, and talk a little bit through how that process works to explain about it. So maybe I can start. So as a founder of Nakedwear, I'm as well the designer of Nakedwear, and our mission is kind of have this collaboration. So as a designer, I only design the concept. So example, in the Potter's Wheel collection, that is our first debut collection, I've designed a concept around the Potter's Wheel technique. And the idea was to kind of emphasize the process of making, the throwing lines, and as well the rotating motion of the wheel. And for that, I made like a really simple shape. I really didn't design the shape, but I made like this kind of quite universal dimensions. So then it's left to the potter to kind of intuitively throughout the process to kind of really give the soul and give the shape to the product. And as I said before, Linda was one of the 3 ceramicists we worked with for this collection. And maybe Linda, you can tell a little bit about, once I handed in the kind of the concept for you, what was kind of how did you start working with that?
Well, so Kirsi sent me the drawings, quite technical drawings of the size and dimensions, and then I just tried out on the wheel. So it worked really well for me because I don't usually draw. I just try out making on the wheel, and I also like to show the throwing lines. And Kirsi wanted the making method to show. So as you're throwing on the wheel, your hands move up the pot as the wheel rotates, and the spiral line shows from where your fingers have moved up. So Kirsi was keen for that to show in the finished piece. And for me, I like to leave those. So you can remove those lines by smoothing the outside with like a straight rib edge. But it's really nice to show the making process. So it kind of fitted well with the way that I work. So as long as I have a guiding dimension, I can just make something to fit within that guide.
What I call the same but different concept, which obviously in Nakedwear, kind of our end goal is that all of our products look a little bit different from each other, even though they're not completely unique, each product, but they have like different quirks and different kind of characteristics. So I think what was your first what did you think about when you kind of heard this concept, and how was it to kind of make these vases that were supposed to look different from each other?
So I was quite excited that I could have free reign to do variations, but then also it was also difficult. To make the curves bigger and bigger is more difficult because you have to start off with more clay at the beginning. So there were certain things I couldn't do. I couldn't make the vase come out too far, or it would just collapse. And I couldn't draw it in too narrow, or it would become unstable. So I had to play around a bit to find which different shapes I could make. But it was fun to have that freedom to play around.
in terms of if all of them are a little bit different, do you plan it at all when you start making them, the difference, or do you just like kind of go with the flow once you're just making it?
Well, I try to make so each vase had to have some kind of going in and out, and sometimes it was at the top of the vase, sometimes in the middle of the vase, and sometimes near the bottom. So I planned to make 10 of each, you know, some at the top, some in the middle, and some at the bottom. But then apart from that, I just waited to see what happened. So as part of the throwing process, you get kind of little wobbles, and then I just tried to accentuate those wobbles. So it didn't always come out exactly how I planned, but as long as there were sort of lots of variations, then I was happy.
And what do you think in terms of, like, obviously the kind of very much charm of handicraft is that they're all a little bit different from each other. That's kind of like standard in the whole handicraft making and production. So yeah. Do you think the naked wear concept is a little bit different from this, or do you see a difference?
I think it's good. What the concept is good because it keeps the sort of overall look of the product. So there are 3 makers in your naked wear so far, and the whole look, they all sit well together, and there's a concept, and it's good to have that thing to draw everything together, but it's also good to have the variations between the pieces. And I think people really like to see the hand of the person who made it, and to feel the tactile surface, and to know that somebody actually made it.
Yeah, I think that's as well very important to me, and that's as well why I founded Naked Wear, because I find that that is special in handicraft and in crafts, that is you really feel the presence of the person, and you really it kind of carries through that it's not machine made, someone really made it with care. Why are handmade pieces important?
I think it just gives life to the object, and to know that someone's made it and taken care over it. And these are things that we use every day, and just seeing something that somebody has made themselves and thought about and taken care over, it just really enhances your everyday life. And also to feel how tactile the outside of the piece is, and to feel the actual lines that somebody's finger made. And sometimes when you look in museums, you can see pieces of ceramics that somebody made like 500 or 1,000 years ago, and you can still see the hand of the person who made it. So that's amazing. That the character of the person and the designer comes through in the finished piece.
Yeah, that's amazing, I think, as well, and that's the charm of crafts. And I think as well, like what you said, I think just the history and as well the tradition that different handicraft techniques carry, it's just amazing how much it tells about our culture and just the previous decades that has been there. And as well, usually those products last for a really long time and carry those stories throughout generations. So I think that's really important, those stories that can be stored in those products. And that's what I found why handicrafts and craft products are so important, to kind of really keep that tradition alive and support these industries. Where as a company, we try to be as transparent in our supply chain and our manufacturing process as is possible. And as well, like we try to work with ceramicists and collaborators that for them sustainability is as well important, as well material knowledge. And I think that's why I was so intrigued when I met you, and I realized that you are a material scientist and you have as well so much knowledge of all these materials to the final detail. And that's kind of what I'm always looking for in a maker, that they really know their craft, not just the aesthetics, but as well really the materials that they're dealing with. So maybe what do you think what is the importance of knowing really the material that you work with as a craftsman?
I think the more you can understand your material, as well as the tactile, the qualities of and how you use it to make, it's just really important to understand the structure of it, what it's made from, why it reacts in that way, and also how, you know, when you fire it, will it be safe? Will it break? You know, will it be strong? So it's just really important to understand every aspect of the material, as well as just the making qualities, and especially with glazes. So I mix my own colours. I don't buy ready-made colours. I buy the things like titanium and nickel oxide and all the kind of raw materials to make the coloured glaze. And so I'm really interested in why it comes out that colour, and also the tactile matte surface I really love. So if you understand how that works, you can make a better glaze and a better clay. So I buy the clay body, but it's English materials. I buy it from Stoke-on-Trent, which is the centre of the British potteries. And it's mixed from Cornish clay and then things like feldspar. And then they mix them together, and I just buy a whole ton, which lasts me about a year. So yeah, and I've written books about science for potters and glazes, and I'm just really fascinated by how everything works.
Yeah, that is amazing. And as well, I think it's, for me, I'm always fascinated by the process as much as the aesthetics. Obviously, it's a combination always of both of those, the end result. But I think that's what naked wear is as well. It's kind of like telling stories about the production process and how these products came alive, and kind of emphasizing those little like details that happen during the making process. So I think it's just so interesting to always meet people who know so much about their own craft. What about then in terms of sustainability? I think you've been talking some about like the sustainability, how you can be sustainable as a studio potter. What's kind of your take on that?
Well, the main thing, potters do need to use energy to do the firing. The clay has to be fired up to about 1250 centigrade. So we do use a lot of energy, but the best we can do is to use green energy, renewable energy. So I have 2 electric kilns, and I use a green energy provider. And so that's really important. And then the other thing is to recycle and reuse as much as you can. So any clay that is wasted, I collect it all together and recycle it and then reuse it. And the glaze materials as well, everything we use in pottery comes from mines. So we just have to make sure we don't throw it away. You know, we've got to keep reusing everything that we can. So yeah, I try to recycle as much as I can, and yeah, potters sometimes feel a bit guilty because of the materials and the energy that we use. But as long as we do it in a careful way, using green providers.
Thank you so much, Linda. Do you have anything else about naked wear that you would like to say?
Well, yeah, I love how all the different vases sit together. The ones made in Paris and in Thailand, they all sit together and look really good together. So I think the whole project looks great. It's just nice to have a sort of unifying design that brings everything together. So I'm really happy to be part of it.
Yeah, I'm so happy that we worked with you on this project. And like Linda said, so there's 3 ceramicists collaborating in the Potter's Wheel project. There is a Capuchin from Paris, and there is a Naguan from Thailand, from Bangkok, and then Linda from London. And that was the idea behind that, was that you can really see what's the effect of different individual makers kind of in the final result of the product. Even the brief was exactly the same. The end result of when the makers use their own materials and as well their own techniques, the end result is very different. And I think that's kind of the soul of a handicraft making, to kind of all those different things.